All right, welcome back. I'm Vicki Mizel. We're talking about brain regeneration with the memory system called Brain Sprouts Memory Training and how to master your memory. When I was asked by Angel Tussey and Jamie, who is really your key client? And I ran through my mind and I thought, well, when I was 26, I started this. So I think a 26-year-old to 35-year-old would be a key client. And then I thought about, people who are really, really struggling with early dementia and Alzheimer's. And I thought, they're really a key client because they need this. They need this to be able to stop the regeneration. But as I thought about it more, I realized, I was somebody who had some serious concerns. My uncle got Alzheimer's disease, my grandmother got Alzheimer's disease, my other grandmother and grandfather on my dad's side had senility. Is that something that could happen to me? And I thought, I didn't even want to entertain the thought of that. And so I realized that when I was teaching the memory course and started having these vibrant dreams, and I started having speed in thinking, and I started having better recall, and my mind was starting to just flourish, and I was able to remember lines and be a better actress. I was a better teacher. I was able to help the students remember things with less repetition and rote learning, but more creative imagination. Those thoughts about getting an old age disease really was not a concern for me because I had this memory system at my command. And I realized that's really the key client. I mean, anyone and everyone can benefit from memory training, from stimulating your brain, from increasing your neural regeneration and recall. But I think I was really desperate. I was desperate to help my uncle. And after I wrote my book, what came clear to me is I was a little desperate to help myself too. Because that was really an uncharted territory of how do you ensure that you're not going to end up getting Alzheimer's or dementia, especially if it runs in your family. So I think that's really the key client. And I would say anyone between the ages of 30 to 60 are really the key people because you can learn the memory system in an hour. I mean, you can learn it, I have these a whole audio MP3 series that is the 12 lessons. It's equal to about 4.5 hours if you condense it. Usually each lesson is about 25 to 45 minutes. And as you listen to it and you practice it and you start to do it, it really, really starts to become second nature to you. You start seeing pictures in your mind. You start almost reading people's thoughts. And it just kind of makes life more fun and easier. So I hadn't really told people about where you can start to get the program. If you go to brainsproutsmemory.com, I have products. I have the MP3s on the audio program. If you go to loveremembers.net, I have my book, which is called Love Remembers, which I teach all about the whole memory program in the second half of the book. I teach another program called Passion Quest, Finding the Work You Love, Loving the Work You Do, which is all about getting the fine-tuning what you really need, what really will support you, and how to create the ideal vision of your career, and 5 action steps to support that vision and attract it to you to be manifesting and becoming true. And in the beginning part of the book, I tell stories of both regular seniors and Alzheimer's seniors, and the difference between people who just grow old and have healthy longevity and continue to really have a masterful mind, and some of the people that end up getting Alzheimer's disease and what's the difference. In chapter 10 of that book, I talk about my grandmother, my Grandma Ida. And Grandma Ida came from Russia. She lost her family because she was Jewish. They were killed in the city, in the village. And she came with her brother and her two sisters to America, never to see them again. And after my grandfather died, she started acting peculiar, where she was putting candles in the freezer. She was scared of the sound of the refrigerator, and she would pull out the plug in the refrigerator, which would start rotting her food because she'd forget to put it back in. And I think the comfort of my grandfather's arms was the thing that was missing for her, and the memories of the Cossacks and the midnight beatings and losing her family, I think, is what weighed on her emotional well-being, and it started affecting her memory. And I think there's a lot of people that have that. So sometimes a codependent personality can be someone who's more symptomatic or more vulnerable to Alzheimer's disease. Entrepreneurs are people who are trained to create new passion and purpose and new goals all the time. But a lot of people haven't been trained that way, and they don't know how to recreate and redesign their life. So that's where Passion Quest comes in, to be able to help them with that, and the practice of the memory training can be to help them with that. So this book, Love Remembers, is really my 26 years of research and practice, stories that I told. And what people don't know is that I was injured. I was injured in 1999. I was a school teacher in Los Angeles. 20 years after I'd learned the memory system, I was teaching my students the memory system. And then I got hit by a big rig truck. And it was a bad accident. I was brain injured. It took me 6 to 8 years to recover. And the way I recovered is by teaching memory training to the older adults and the Alzheimer's people. So in that book are the stories that I received from them that I share in the book. And they're delightful stories, and I really enjoyed being with them. And they helped me get better, and I helped them get better, and we were able to get better together. I could hardly write the book. I had a writing teacher named Holly Prado, and she told me just to go home and whatever I was doing with them during the day, to just get it on the page, even if I had to scrawl it. And that's what I did for literally about 2 years. I just went home and scrawled on the paper. And then it took me another 2 years of rewriting. And then the rewriting got so much better toward the end than the beginning that I had to rewrite the beginning chapters. And so it's really a book that I'm so, so proud of. Love Remembers. Again, you can get it at loveremembers.net. And so that's really my memory Bible of people to get started with that. And as we continue, I will tell you more about how I got better practicing the memory system, teaching the memory system. I was slow. The old people were slow. And that's what the doctors couldn't help me at the time. So I found a Dr. Tuman, who was an engineer, a neuroengineer, and he said, "You're slow. Old people are slow. Go find some old people and teach them your memory system and you'll get better." And that's exactly what happened. So that's my legacy of love. Love Remembers. And we'll continue on, and I'll tell you how I recovered my brain, not just from that accident, but I had another accident after I published my book, and that was at the age of 62. So I'll tell you how I ended up with dementia, recovered my brain through the memory system, nutrition, and oxygen. That'll be in our third part. Thank you so much for listening.